My cousin criticized me at her wedding because I was her husband's ex-wife, so I sued her. My cousin Emily, 26, started dating my ex-boyfriend James, 28, 3 years ago. I, 28, had been with James for 2 years. We began our relationship after he completed his college education, while I was in my third year at university. We were together for 2 years, and our relationship ended a few weeks after my 21st birthday. Reflecting on it, the relationship was unhealthy, and I regret that it was my first serious adult relationship. Although we seemed perfect on the surface, the reality was very different. James was insecure and controlling, never allowing me to do anything independently, such as socializing with friends or even talking to my male acquaintances. He continuously monitored my actions, and if I didn't comply with his demands, he would manipulate and gaslight me, making me believe that the problems in the relationship were my fault. Desperate to keep him, I would go out of my way to accommodate him, but it was never enough. Eventually, he broke up with me, claiming the relationship wasn't working, and then blocked me to cut off all contact. I tried reaching out to him, but he had completely vanished. Within a few months, I learned through others that he had already moved on and started dating someone new. The entire experience felt like a significant waste of time, and I developed a strong aversion to him. For some time after the breakup, James and I had no communication. Then, when I turned 26, he unblocked me and sent a message wishing me a happy birthday. I didn't reply, finding it odd that he was contacting me because I had moved on and was in a new relationship. Despite getting no response, he kept texting me and I eventually had to block him. Again, we had no contact for several months. A few months after my birthday, Emily invited me over. When I arrived, she said she wanted me to meet someone, and to my surprise, it was James. The reason he had texted me earlier was to make amends before starting a relationship with Emily. They had met through work and had become quite serious about each other. Emily and I had been very close since childhood, so this revelation was a massive shock. She knew how badly things had ended between James and me and how toxic he had been, so seeing them together was incredibly surprising. Emily admitted she knew I would be uncomfortable but asked me to give it a chance. I wanted to be happy for her, but it was too much to handle. I told her I couldn't accept her being with James and didn't think I wanted to be part of her life anymore. She was very upset and tried to talk to me several times, but I couldn't come to terms with it. She knew exactly how toxic he had been and how much he had hurt me, yet she chose to date him. She insisted he had changed and was a better person now. But I did not believe it. She was free to have him in her life and be with him. I did not have a problem with that, but I also had the right to cut him out, and by association her too, from my life. It was very straightforward for me, and honestly, it was also difficult since Sarah and I were very close friends as well as cousins. However, it was something I absolutely had to do for my own well-being, and I did it. After she told me that she had started dating James, I stopped speaking to her much, and for the past 2 years, we have been quite distant because once she realized that I was not going to talk to her, she also started acting distant with me. I don't blame her for that. We would see each other at family events and just ignore one another. Whereas before, we had always been the cousins who stuck together and gossiped about everyone else. But now things were different, and I was honestly okay with that. Everyone has their own life and the freedom to do as they please, so I did not have a problem with her. I just did not want to talk to her. That was it from my side. However, I guess she took it personally and wanted to get back at me or something, so she decided to start talking badly about me to other family members, ruining my image, which I did not think was necessary at all. I would never do that to her. Even though we were not getting along for the past year, she had been telling everyone that I was the reason behind my breakup with James, and that I lacked morals or ethics. She and James had been spreading rumors that I flirted with other guys while I was with him, right in front of him, and that was why he became possessive and controlling. They made it seem like I was the flirt, causing his insecurity, when in reality it was the opposite. He was the one who was excessively friendly with other women and expected me to be okay with it, but did not like it when I had male friends, even though I kept it completely platonic. He constantly manipulated and gaslighted me into cutting everyone out of my life. I found their attempts to ruin my reputation among my family members very offensive, but I was honestly too busy with my own life to care about what they were spreading. It was not like anyone actually believed them, so I was fine with it. I did not respond or react because I knew that would give them exactly what they wanted, a reaction from me. I also knew that if I wanted to put an end to this, it would be very easy for me since all I had to do was talk to my aunt, who would take care of everything. Even though I was no longer close with Sarah, I was still very close with her mother, who was a federal court judge. I knew she would do the right thing. She is my dad's older sister, and everyone knows she has a spine of steel. She would never do anything underhanded or wrong, so I don't know how Sarah turned out the way she did, despite being the daughter of someone like that. One conversation with her would put an end to all of this. But as a consequence, I knew Sarah would suffer quite a lot since she was financially dependent on her mother. She had recently started her own jewelry line, but it was not doing well from what I had heard. Anyway, I did not want to bother her with such petty things, and I knew I was strong enough to handle it on my own, so I did not bring it up with her. I wanted to see how far they would go and what other ridiculous rumors they would concoct because either way, my other cousins were still coming up to me and telling me what she had been saying behind my back. It was amusing and a form of entertainment for me. Then, 6 months ago, they got engaged and announced the wedding date shortly after. My parents received an invitation, but I did not, and I was fine with it. I didn't expect to be invited to the wedding. I wouldn't have wanted to attend even if I had been invited, considering everything that had gone wrong between me and Sarah, let alone me and Alex. The wedding took place 3 days ago, and it was just another day for me, so I wasn't too concerned about what was going on there. However, after a certain point, my phone started flooding with texts from everyone in the family. They were all talking about a speech that Alex and Sarah had made at the wedding, and I was really confused. My parents then called me and said they needed to speak to me. They finally told me what had happened, and I lost my temper at that point. Apparently, they had used the opportunity at the wedding to make a horrible speech about me, spreading as many nasty things about me as they could. They wanted to turn everyone in the family against me, and I guess they might have succeeded if I didn't have anything against them in my arsenal. Sarah and Alex were clever enough not to mention me by name, but kept referring to a certain ex-girlfriend who was not present at the wedding, which could only be me because who else could it have been? They repeated all the rumors they had tried to spread about me before, like I was the flirt and apparently a gold digger. They claimed I relied on Alex for money, expecting him to pay for everything, and demanded he take care of me financially because I was just a college student and couldn't be wasteful. That was not true either. I always made it a point to split everything on our dates and never expected him to pay for anything, let alone demand it. But the most horrible accusation they made was claiming I had cheated on him, which supposedly ended the relationship. At the wedding, they said they were glad I was out of their lives and that they were happy I wasn't present, as they didn't want such a negative influence around them. They gave the family an ultimatum from now on. They could either invite me to their events or them. If I was present at any family event, they would not attend. After that, my phone was inundated with messages from people informing me about it. But I only got the full story from my parents. I was majorly pissed, as I mentioned earlier. I thanked my parents for what they had done because they left immediately after that speech, unable to stand that Sarah was going to such lengths. They also told me that my aunt was really perplexed about what was going on and asked them if what Sarah claimed in her speech was true. It seemed very out of character for me, and she was right. I hadn't done any of that, and she was correct to doubt her daughter's truthfulness. After learning about what they said in their wedding speech, I decided to go all out and dug up screenshots from the past to prove they were lying. I had to do a lot of digging, and it took quite some time since I had to scroll for several minutes to get to the part I wanted. I found the chat between me and my ex that I had been looking for. These messages were from around the time we were breaking up, and he had been particularly toxic and vicious at that point. He had said a lot of nasty things to me, like how he wished he had never started dating me and how he had wasted 3 years of his life with me when he could have been with other people, as many women had shown interest in him during that time. Now, he said, he was finally going to go out with other people. There was no mention of cheating, and I am pretty sure if I had actually cheated on him, he wouldn't have let it go so easily. I scrolled even further back and found other chats where he was being toxic towards me. I then went ahead and posted all of it online without any explanation or caption because I believed those chats would speak for themselves. And they did, because after I posted the screenshots, People started texting me and commenting on the post, saying they knew that whatever had been said about me was not true. They said it just seemed really weird for me to act that way since everyone had known me for ages, and I was not the kind of person who would do such things. Those screenshots clearly showed that Sarah and Alex were lying. Knowing that my family was on my side and not theirs was all that I needed. In fact, several people even contacted me to tell me they had left the wedding because of the things that had been said about me. While Sarah and Alex had hoped to turn people against me, their speech backfired horribly, and nobody was on their side anymore. Worst of all, not even my aunt was on their side, which was really bad for them. They contacted me on the night of the wedding itself and literally started begging me for forgiveness. Apparently, after reading the screenshots I had posted online, my aunt had spoken to them and expressed how disappointed she was by the fact that Sarah had been so dishonest and tried to ruin my reputation just because she couldn't stand that I had chosen to cut her off because she was with my ex-boyfriend. Most of the guests had already left because of the ongoing drama. After speaking to them, my aunt told Sarah that she was very upset and disappointed in her behavior and had expected better. She told her that until she apologized to me and I forgave her, she would be cutting the two of them out of her life as well. Then she left, despite Sarah trying her best to convince her not to do so, since she was really depending on her mother. That night, Sarah and Alex called me and started apologizing profusely because they knew they would not be able to manage without my aunt's support, as she had been supporting her daughter financially for quite some time. Sarah had actually been planning on shutting down her business and taking a break, which meant she would have to rely on her mother even more. But since my aunt had decided to cut her off, things were not going to work out as planned, and Sarah was really worried about the future. That's why she contacted me, wanting me to forgive her, take down the post, and speak to my aunt about all of this. I was really upset about everything that had happened, so I refused to do that and blocked both of them. Since then, they have been trying desperately to contact me and get me to change my mind, and now I'm really confused about what I should do. My aunt is a very upright woman. She contacted me the day after the wedding to let me know how sorry she was for whatever Sarah had done. However, I told her that I did not want my equation with Sarah to affect our relationship since I had not let it happen in the past, and I would still not let it happen now. So it's all cool between us. And I know for a fact that if I speak to her, I can make things right for Sarah. But I personally feel like I don't really need to. She is a full-grown adult woman and should be able to sort things out for herself, dealing with the consequences of her actions. Yet, I feel like a jerk knowing that I can help her and choosing not to. I'm just kind of conflicted about what to do right now, so please help me out. Would I be an asshole for not speaking to my aunt and convincing her to forgive my cousin after she made a horrible speech at her wedding with my ex-boyfriend about me? Update 1. Hello! First of all, thank you so much for all the comments and support. Before I get into the update, I just want to get one thing out of the way. My parents attended the wedding, like many other family members, because they belong to the older generation of our family, and were not exactly aware of the rumors that were being spread about me. Alex and Sarah were mostly gossiping to our other cousins and relatives in the same generation as us, around the same age. They were keeping the older folks out of it, so my parents had no idea what was being said about me and chose to attend the wedding out of respect for my aunt. They were somewhat aware of the tension between Sarah and me after she started dating Alex, but I had not complained to them on purpose, just as I had not mentioned anything to my aunt. I didn't want to drag them or involve them in such petty issues. I was above all that. But clearly, Sarah and Alex were not. Anyway, my point is that my parents were not aware, and that's why they attended the wedding, so there is no need for anyone to question or criticize them. As soon as they and some other people from the older generation found out what was being said about me at the wedding, they opted out and are no longer on speaking terms with Sarah or Alex, so it's all fine. And I hope that's clear now. Moving on, it's been 1 week since the wedding, and I blocked Alex and Sarah both so they could not get in touch with me. However, that hasn't stopped them from trying. They keep making new accounts on social media and sending me emails, even though I just keep blocking them. They are desperate, but I've made up my mind that I'm not getting involved and helping them out here. I have kept in touch with my aunt, and she has made it very clear to me that she will only resume supporting her daughter after I forgive her. But honestly, I don't think I need to forgive her because for one whole year, I kept my mouth shut and allowed them to say whatever they wanted about me, not taking them seriously. They thought that was a free pass to take things to the next level, and now they have to face the consequences. There's also the fact that I honestly don't feel she deserves the support from her mother. Sarah is in her late 20s now, and I think she should have a sense of what she wants to do in her life by now. I can't imagine anyone still relying on their parents for money at this point in life. It's not even like she's uneducated or incompetent. She's just always been too lazy to stick to a job. It was that way when we were in our early 20s and had just graduated, and I thought she would grow out of it, but it's still the same now. I think I'm kind of doing her a favor because not getting any financial support from my aunt is probably going to teach her to be better at her job or whatever she decides to do. Either way, I've made up my mind that I'm not going to help her out. I discussed this decision with my parents to let go of some of the guilt I had been feeling, and they said I was perfectly justified in whatever I decided to do. It was my call whether or not I wanted to forgive her. I didn't have to forgive her if I didn't feel she deserved it, just because I was worried about what might happen to her in the future. Besides, Alex still had a decent job and could support the two of them if they really wanted to get by without any financial help from my aunt. The bottom line is I spoke to my parents, some of my friends, and even you guys here, and most people agree that I have no reason to feel guilty, so I feel much better now, to be honest. However, I did take that post down because I don't think it needed to stay up any longer. Everybody in the family already knows what went down, and I don't want to keep that on my profile since a lot of other people follow me, and it would be really difficult to explain everything that happened to them, so it was much easier to just take it down. Right now, I'm just trying to focus on myself and let go of all the anger and guilt that I had been feeling for the past couple of days. I've returned to meditating and trying to take my mind off things, dealing with everything in a Zen way. I really hope that Sarah and Alex also try to do better with their lives, instead of basing it all around me and making me the reason they wake up in the morning every day, like they have been doing so far. I think that'll be better for all of us. Update 2. Hi, so it's been a month since the wedding, and from what I know, Alex and Sarah are back to their old tricks again. My aunt is still not speaking to them because I have not forgiven them yet. At this point, I don't even need to because I know their apology was not genuine. They were only apologizing because they wanted money from my aunt. They didn't actually mean it. After a few days of trying to convince me to forgive them and tell my aunt to speak to them, they gave up when I did not respond. After that, they went back to spreading rumors about me, and this time they got really creative with it. Apparently, they went around telling everybody that I was trying to ruin their relationship with my aunt on purpose because I wanted all the inheritance to myself. It doesn't even make sense, and it's so absurd that I would do something like that because my parents are pretty well off too. Let's not even go there since I have a decent job myself and am doing well. I don't need to think about inheritance because at the rate I'm going, with the grace of God, I will not need to rely on anybody for money. Maybe they do, which is why they are thinking along these lines. Anyway, they have been telling everybody all of this every time they run into someone from the family in public, which happens pretty often since all of us live in the same city and they live close to several of our family members. People have been avoiding them like the plague, yet they find a way to talk about me somehow. It just doesn't make sense to me why they are so obsessed with me since I have not done anything for the past month. All I do is ignore them, yet they can't let go of whatever has happened. Anyway, I got pretty annoyed by this last week and told my aunt about it, and she told me that even if they do apologize, there's no way she is going to get back in touch with her daughter. She communicated that to Sarah and blocked her again. Now, Sarah and Alex are even more furious with me than they already were. I know this because they created another fake email account to send me a really angry message, as email is the only way they can contact me now. They told me that they were going to make me pay for all of this. Like, whoa, shiver me timbers. I know they are unhinged right now, and while I'm not really scared, it is quite inconvenient. I wrote back to them and said that if they tried anything funny with me, I would call the cops and not hesitate to send them to jail. So they'd better watch what they do. I'm hoping that scares them off. If not, well, I have a pretty good security system installed. Update 3. So, 4 days ago, I received an email from Alex and Sarah saying that I would have to face the consequences of what I had done. I also warned them that if they tried to do anything funny, I would report them to the police, yet that did not stop them from doing the most idiotic thing in the world. Last night, they tried to break into my house. Sarah has been to my house several times and knows that I have a very advanced security system in place. Obviously, I was alerted as soon as they even attempted to open my door. I don't know why they thought my door would be unlocked in the middle of the night at around 100 in the morning. As soon as that happened, I called the police and alerted them that somebody was trying to break into my house. I had a feeling it was going to be Sarah and Alex, but just in case it wasn't, I didn't want to take any risks. The police showed up within 15 minutes, and unfortunately for the two of them, they were even dressed like burglars and were caught trying to make a run for it a little distance away from my house. They hadn't brought their car with them and had cycled all the way here. The two of them tried to claim that they knew me personally and were not trying to steal anything. They just wanted to break in and speak to me, intimidate me a little bit. I don't know why they admitted to that, as if it was going to make them look any better in the eyes of the law. Sarah immediately started crying once she had been placed in handcuffs and began begging me not to press any charges against her. But I did not have any sympathy to spare for her. You can't just keep screwing up repeatedly and expect people to forgive you. Alex just kept looking at me with pure hatred, but that hardly mattered to me. I was quite used to that anyway. After that, I went back to sleep because I had work in the morning. This morning I told my aunt and my parents about what had happened, and they told me that they knew because Sarah had used her phone call to contact my aunt so she could come and bail her out, but my aunt refused to even go see her. So now, nobody knows what's going to happen. I am definitely going to press charges against them because I want a protective order. They are obviously unhinged, and I don't want anything to do with them anymore.